Welcome back to Quiet Mind Radio, your dedicated space for inner peace. I'm James.
And I'm Joy. We are so glad you've chosen to tune in with us again.
In our first episode last week, we opened the conversation about that raging noise in our minds. We talked about just noticing it, and we introduced that very simple breathwork practice and the digital sunset challenge.
We hope you were able to find just a few small moments of stillness. And that leads us perfectly into our conversation for today, because we've realized that so much of that internal noise doesn't actually start inside us.
That's such a powerful point, Joy. The noise is often our reaction to the world pulling at us, the demands, the expectations, the constant pings for our attention.
Exactly. And if we don't protect our energy, we can't ever expect our minds to be quiet. Which is why today we're going to talk about one of the most important and often one of the most difficult tools for a quiet mind: the gentle art of setting boundaries.
So, boundaries. Joy, I think for a lot of people, myself included for a long time, that word sounds harsh. It sounds like building a wall, like pushing people away.
It really does. It brings up this immediate feeling of conflict or even unkindness. And if you're a person who is naturally empathetic, or maybe you've been called a people pleaser in the past, the idea of setting a boundary can feel deeply uncomfortable.
Absolutely. There's this immense sense of guilt. We feel guilty for saying no. We feel guilty for prioritizing our own needs. We'd rather stretch ourselves thin, feel completely overwhelmed, and have that raging noise in our heads than risk disappointing someone.
That guilt is the number one barrier. We've been taught that being good or kind means always being available, always saying yes. But here is the most important perspective shift we have to make: a boundary is not a wall.
Okay, tell me more. If it's not a wall, what is it?
A healthy boundary is like a gate around your garden. A wall is a permanent keep out sign. But a gate allows you to decide who and what comes in and when.
I like that visual. A garden needs a fence to protect it from being trampled.
Precis villi. Your energy, your time, and your mental peace. That is your garden. Boundaries are not an act of aggression against others. They are an act of preservation for yourself. They are the essential dividing line between where you end and another person begins. They aren't about rejecting people. They're about protecting your peace.
So it's not about being unkind to others. It's about being kind to ourselves first.
You have to be. You cannot pour from an empty cup. If you are constantly drained, resentful, and overwhelmed because you've let everyone trample your garden, you have nothing left to genuinely give to anyone anyway.
So, when we talk about boundaries, I think most people immediately think of just saying no to a big request. But it's much more subtle than that, isn't it? They show up in our daily lives.
They are everywhere, every day, and they come in many forms. There are physical boundaries, of course, like your personal space or not wanting a hug or needing to be alone. But the ones that really impact our quiet mind are often the invisible ones,
Like what?
like emotional boundaries. This is a huge one. An emotional boundary is the understanding that you are not responsible for fixing another person's feelings.
Oh, that's difficult. You want to help.
You can. You can be empathetic. You can listen. You can hold space for them. But an emotional boundary means you don't absorb their emotions. It's the difference between saying, I am here with you in your sadness, and becoming so tangled in their sadness that you are now drowning with them. You can't help anyone if you're drowning too.
That's a massive distinction, and it protects your own mental energy.
Immensely. And then there's another, which ties directly back to our digital sunset from last week: time and digital boundaries.
This feels like the most challenging one in the modern world.
It is. A time boundary is simply protecting your time. It's saying no to that meeting you don't need to be in. It's saying, I can't talk right now, but I am free at 2 p.m.
And the digital side,
It's that work email that comes in at 9 p.m. It's the text message from a friend that you feel pressured to answer immediately. A digital boundary is deciding, my evenings are for my rest. I will not check my work email after 6 p.m. Or, I have the right to put my phone on silent and answer messages when I have the emotional capacity to do so.
when we don't set those boundaries, we are essentially telling the world that we are available 24/7. And that is a direct recipe for burnout. It's the definition of a raging mind. Okay, so we're convinced. We need boundaries to protect our garden. But how, Joy? How do we start when we're so terrified of that guilt, of that no?
Gentle laugh. You don't start with no, that's too hard. It's like trying to run a marathon without training. You start small. You start by building a tiny bit of space.
Space?
Yes, we're going to use a tool I call the power of the pause. Think about it. When someone asks you for something, what is your default people pleasing response?
Yes. Laughs. Or, of course. No problem. I say it before I've even really processed the request.
Exactly. We're programmed for the immediate yes. The power of the pause is your new tool. Instead of that immediate yes, your new go to phrase is going to be something like this: let me check my schedule and get back to you.
That's it?
That's it. It's simple, it's polite, and it's not a no. It doesn't trigger that immediate conflict or guilt. But look at what it does: it creates space.
Space between the request and my answer.
Exactly. And in that space, you get to check in with yourself. You get to ask, do I actually have time for this? Do I have the mental energy for this? Am I saying yes because I truly want to? Or am I saying yes because I'm afraid of what they'll think if I say no?
And in that space, I can reclaim my choice.
You reclaim your power, and then you can go back an hour later or a day later and give a thoughtful, honest answer. And that answer might be, I've looked at my week and I just don't have the capacity to take that on. Or I can't help with that, but maybe I can offer a smaller alternative.
And you'll find that most people, the people who truly respect you, will receive a thoughtful no perfectly well.
They will. And the people who get angry at you for having a boundary, they are the very people you need boundaries with the most.
This is so foundational. It feels like you cannot truly find a quiet mind until you learn to build these gentle fences.
They are the walls of the home your mind lives in. Your inner peace is the garden. Your boundaries are the gate that protects it. You can't have a peaceful, thriving garden if you let everyone trample through it whenever they please.
So, the main takeaway for today is setting a boundary is not an act of aggression. It is a vital act of self-preservation.
Beautifully said, James. It's not selfish, it's self care. It's the ultimate way of telling yourself that you matter. Your peace matters, your time matters, and your energy matters.
And that feels like the perfect, quiet place to pause for today.
Thank you all so much for joining us on Quiet Mind Radio. This week, we invite you to just try the power of the pause. Just once. Notice how it feels to create that little bit of space for yourself before you answer.
We will be back next week to talk about something that often comes after we set that first boundary, navigating the feelings of guilt that follow.
Until then, be kind to yourself.
And be kind to your mind.